This is Paul Levy here, and I'm in the creative zone. I come here regularly to do writing and a bit of creative thinking. It is Pavilion Gardens Cafe in the gardens of the Royal Pavilion. I'm just shaking my phone slightly just to show you the view. And not only do lots of writers and creative folk come here, and have done for I think 3 generations, the owners of this cafe have run this cafe, but also I see students here, and I bumped into 1 or 2 that I know from the courses that I teach who have also come here to do their work. Out comes a laptop and they're completing an assignment over a nice coffee. Now I come here because I'm more likely to feel and be creative. For me personally, it's not true for everybody, in a place that I like that is a bit of nature in a noisy city. And here in the morning you can hear cars going by, you can hear rubbish being collected, you can hear the honking of horns. Occasionally, if you listen carefully, you might even hear a plane going overhead. But you can also probably hear all kinds of birds. It's the seagulls are particularly loudest here, but there are squirrels. There was even a fox here at the moment. And I sit here and find I can measure my creativity, and that's surprising because I get distracted. People come here to have a coffee, people walk by, we recognise each other and catch up. But amidst all that, you can measure my creativity in terms of the word count of my writing. I get into a creative flow state here more than if I go into an office. And I noticed that many years ago. Now, I talked about feeling creative and sort of being creative, and they are 2 different things that clearly relate to each other. When you feel creative, the word that I apply to that is creativeness. Now, creativeness is a quality of creativity that's often, it can be something inside. It's a disposition towards creativity. It can be a sense of feeling creative. There's creativeness in me. You can also say there's a sense of creativeness in nature, or in this particular space, that may well have drawn very famous writers to sit here and do their work. I see people sketching here, and I sometimes see people just looking into, actually over the gardens to the Royal Pavilion, maybe people watching a bit and getting inspired. Inspired kind of means to breathe in, and if I inspire this atmosphere, inside creativeness arises in me. So ness, it feels like a sort of like happiness. It's a feeling, it's an inner thing, but it can come from outside. Going to an art gallery, taking a walk in the sunset along the seafront can inspire a feeling, a sense of creativeness. So that's being, in a way. A trigger is maybe the word to then doing creativity. Feeling creative, being creative is the outward practice, and that word is creativity. If creativeness is an inner sense of feeling creative, creativity is the outward practice of it. And so you can look around this cafe. Let's have another look. Here's the cafe itself. Look at the writers who are going to fill these tables. Lots of other people too. People come here to solve problems. Lots of people from work get their coffees, and you can see they're talking through work issues. Is this place increases the chance of creativity. So creativeness creates creativity, or engenders creativity. And where they're related is, if you're not feeling very creative, if your creativeness is low, coming to a place that's inspiring, and that will be different for different people, then makes creativity happen more effectively. And so being creative and doing that very practically, practicing creativity, is less likely to happen if you're not in a place or a feeling of creativeness. So in this particular place, I get creative because I feel creative, and that enables me to do creative. And I've noticed that after a while I like to move on. I like to go to another place and get more inspired. So my creativity runs out if I'm in one place for too long, whereas you might just find you go and sit in the park and you can be there all day, but it might go after about an hour and you want to shift space. But so if you're not feeling very creative, one of the things to do to wake up your creativeness is to go to a place and find your place where creativeness inspires creativity in you. And another way is if I look at my notebook that I've got here to do some writing, there are lots of tools for creativity that have been developed over many, many years. An example of one might be mind mapping. And mind mapping is where you might put your question or the thing you're trying to do. It could be the title of a book, it could be the title of a story that you want to write, it could be the content for a presentation. And a mind map is where you then draw lines from the central problem and create other little circles of ideas. And once that's triggered, so you might say, I'm looking to feel more creative about the book about AI that I'm writing. I might put in the middle a book about AI. Out of that comes, so define AI. What might come out of that is give examples of AI. Another one might say, what are some of the problems, what are the risks? Then when I just look at my little box, what are the risks? It can be, how can AI harm your own sense of creativity? It might be, how can you actually find AI is illegal? You might find, how is AI reducing your ability to come up with your own ideas? And then out of that comes a whole mind map. It's a well-established tool. Now, you won't easily do a mind map if you're not feeling creativeness, but it can work. If you get started, because it's inherently a creative thing, a bit like drawing a picture, you might find your creativeness wakes up a bit from practicing a bit of creativity. So creativity sometimes can also trigger creativeness, and that's what all those tools are. Things like brainstorming, something called rich pictures, where a bit like a mind map, you draw lots of pictures and just put them down. It could be word association, where you just write down loads of words and see what they trigger. And there are literally hundreds of creative tools. So we've got a kind of dynamic running between these things, is if you are practicing creativity, it can trigger creativeness. If you go to a place of creativeness, it might help you practice creativity. And finding that starting point will all be down to your own personality. But we're in a world at the moment, you can probably hear noise in the background at the moment, that's very busy and noisy and tends to be very outward. And that can kill the noise inside. So you might need to go somewhere silent to do this, quiet. I like the noise. But it can be that in a world where there are lots and lots of tools and lots of techniques and everyone's trying to download an app, that you might find that a bit overwhelming and it can kill your feeling of creativeness, and you might want to do simple things. And that's what I do. And I found this cafe that despite its noisiness in the morning, I sit here, I watch nature go by, and suddenly I pick up my book and ideas start to flow.